Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Meg. Welcome to our Nantucket beach house. Come on in, let me show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Meg Young. I am the founder of Cailíní Coastal, which is a destination for luxury coastal-inspired home decor and furnishings. Welcome to my home here on Nantucket. So for years, my husband and I have been coming to Nantucket with our two daughters and our extended family. And the last couple of years, I was sort of egging him on, we should start looking for a home on Nantucket. So we came back in September and it was a nor'easter. So we were staying at a hotel with our daughters and really stuck in the hotel room. And our realtor said, hey, there's a couple of homes on the market that just came on. Do you want to go look? And we thought, well, there's really nothing else to do. So sure, let's look at some homes. And this home was one of the homes. And we pulled into the driveway, this long driveway, and we were just blown away by how beautiful the property was and the privacy. And there was such a warmth to this home, even on the cloudiest, rainiest, kind of ickiest day on the island. And I think there was a little bit of magic in the air that my husband was aligned with me. You know, let's put in an offer and see what happens. And the stars aligned and the offer was accepted. And a week later, we were up here for the inspection. So I really do feel, as cliche as it sounds, that this home was meant to be ours. So the home was really a blank canvas when we bought it. The former owner was a bachelor. And no offense to the bachelors out there, but it needed a lot of design, I would say, and color. For me, I saw the opportunity just to warm it up, to add some personality and make it feel like an inviting family home. Welcome to our entryway. When we purchased the home, this space was white walls. It had this beautiful shiplap. This over here was actually a closet, and it was, you know, a pretty coastal space, but it needed some personality. I partnered with a dear friend of mine and designer, Lynn Morgan Design out of Connecticut. She helped us when we were building our home in Connecticut, and I had her partner again on this home, and she brought so many creative ideas in designing this space. I always say I have a very clear sense of my style, but I design as a consumer designs, and sometimes you need that next level of creativity. And she had the brilliant idea to paint these floors. So at first I was a little nervous because it is a space that has a lot of traffic, but it really has transformed the entire look of this entryway. And when you walk in, it is just such a statement. They have a protective coating on top of them to keep them in tip-top shape. But I just think that they're so much fun, and it's nothing I would have ever thought of on my own. And then we really wanted to have an area where you could sit down, take off your shoes. We sort of were missing a mudroom in this home. And so we decided to turn the coat closet into a seating area with these pull-out drawers where we can tuck away flip-flops and sneakers and just keep it a little bit more organized and tidy. Although I will tell you, no one actually uses those drawers except for me. Drives me nuts, but we always have a pile of shoes when we're hosting, although I do feel like that is sort of the look and the feel of a beach house. And then we did this custom seat here. I love the detail. Again, this is a Lynn Morgan Design detail of this striped pipe trim. Some fun pillows that are Cailíní Coastal that we actually designed for this home. The Ack pillow we created, and it recently launched for this house. I wanted something that said Ack on it, and we did this darling little hook pillow that greets all of our guests the second you walk in the door. Then we have lots of nautical touches throughout. I mean, again, we really leaned into making this a coastal home, and it was so fun to do that. So we have these beautiful woven sconces with the blue and white shade for a little pop of pattern. And then in the entry, I have a couple of things on the wall that are very special. So these pieces, fun story behind them, I purchased from an antique store, of course thinking, buying them from an antique store, that they were in fact antiques. And when I started showing this home on our Instagram account, somebody messaged me and said, "I'm so glad that you found and loved my art." And I told this person, "Oh no, they're vintage pieces," and actually found out that they were not. So it is an artist who takes vintage frames and then she draws this folk art that is inspired by vintage pieces of art. At first I was almost disappointed because they felt maybe less special. I truly thought that I was telling everyone, these are from the 1800s. They're not. The frames could be. But then as a business owner, I was very excited because now we're working on a collection exclusively for Cailíní Coastal with some of this incredible art. So I just love these pieces. It's a small wall, but I think hanging art, I love art. I think it really can transform a space, and just a little pop here just brings this whole little vignette to life. And then I wanted to introduce you to Shelly, our whale. So you will see in this home, Shelly is the first of many things I'm going to show you that are created by local Nantucket artists and artisans. And Shelly is carved of reclaimed wood and hand painted here on the island of Nantucket. And I think she is just so fitting, again, when you walk in the door to see this whale, because Nantucket has a very rich history in whaling, and it really is a symbol of Nantucket. I think she is just adorable. And sometimes she's Pearl. The kids change her name. We had a big debate, but recently she's Shelly. So Shelly is a favorite in the entryway. And then we get so many questions about our door color. So I'm gonna show you this. We repainted the door and lacquered it. This is Benjamin Moore old blue jeans, and it was a very bright blue. So the first thing we did to the house was paint the door. And it's a really beautiful coastal blue-gray, and then we added a whale tail door knocker, and I just love how it turned out. The last thing I want to show you in the entry is the light fixture. So this piece is actually the piece we waited for the longest. It had a 6-month lead time, which seems bananas, but it is a custom light fixture from Cailíní Company, and I just thought the wave design was so fun and playful, and it made such an impact in this space, and I think it really brought it all together. So now we're going to move into the living room. So the living space is drenched in sun. Thankfully, the sun has come out for us today, so you can experience it firsthand. And we rarely turn the lights on in this house because there is just so much natural sunlight that comes through, which feels just so appropriate for a beach home. And in designing this space, we went what to me feels like a quintessential beach house. We put white slip-covered sofas, and clearly I have a dog, George, and I have 2 kids. And so it was a little intimidating to have white slip-covered sofas, but this is our Molly sofa that we actually just launched, and it is a durable cotton fabric that can be machine washed. And so that was essential to me. I have taken them off already a couple of times to throw them in the wash to keep them clean. And it can be a little annoying to get them back on and off. But for me, having that white slip-covered sofa was a must-have, and I absolutely love the look of them, even if it requires a little bit more care than a darker color. I think they're just perfect in this space. And with durability, again, this is a high traffic area. This is the main space where we spend time when we're indoors. So this is our beautiful cruise stripe rug. And this is an indoor-outdoor rug, highly, highly durable. We have already spilt red wine on this space. George has come in after digging with muddy paws, and it's really easy to clean. And so that was, again, an essential. I think it's so important, especially at a house by the beach where people are coming in from the outside pretty regularly, to have things that are durable. But I don't think you have to sacrifice the beauty of the pieces. So finding things, and that's something I love to source, that are beautiful and elevated but also durable, are really key. So these chairs, these fun swivel chairs, are a Lynn Morgan, the designer I worked with, touch. This is where I say the partnership really was a perfect blend. You know, I selected the white slip-covered sofas, and Lynn said, okay, Meg, we need to have a little more fun in this space. So she found this quadrille fabric, and then we had these custom upholstered swivel chairs. They're really comfortable, and they do add a little bit of, I would say, you know, more high design look to the space. And it's something I would not have selected on my own. I probably would have just done more white, which is why I'm not a designer. In this space, I also want to show a few accessories because I just love accessories. I love having fresh florals, but the reality is this is a home we're not in year round. And oftentimes we're here for a weekend or a short trip. And I love walking in the door and seeing something that looks like I have beautiful fresh florals. So these are actually artificial snowball hydrangeas that we sell. And it's one of our best-selling pieces because it's such a statement, but it's so realistic and it's very low maintenance. So again, it's a wonderful piece to have when you walk in the door that gives you that impact without having to actually go to the store and buy fresh flowers. And then over here on our sofa, I want to show another Nantucket artisan piece. So this beautiful throw is from Nantucket Looms, which is a store on the island, and they have been looming throws for over 50 years on the island. They're absolutely spectacular. And once we bought our home here, I immediately went and purchased one for our homes. These are our whale baskets. I have two more, which I will show you, but they come as a set of 3 and they're nested. And this is another design we created for this house. I wanted storage that was something I could throw blankets in or sunscreen. And we made these cute little wicker whale baskets. And I keep him right over here by our fire, and he stores our throws. And I just think, again, it's another really whimsical, fun detail to have in this space. Over here, we have this beautiful blue console that is actually a custom piece we sell, and we did the color to match our front door. So this is Benjamin Moore old blue jeans, and another great styling opportunity with the multiple shelves. I have a mix of new pieces as well as some vintage finds in here, and I just really always welcome, because we don't have a lot of spaces, when I have these moments to have fun with those decor and accessories. And then this piece is another Nantucket artist and a dear friend of mine, Zofia Crosby, and she is an islander and photographer. And we've been selling her Nantucket photography since we launched the business 5 years ago. But this is actually of our beach, Surfside Beach, just down the road. And I thought it was just perfect in this space, and the colors, I love that there's some green in there, and just tied back to the local side of where we are and our now very special local beach. And then over here, this is one of our Cailíní pieces of art. These are actual vintage tennis rackets that have been suspended on white linen, and then we custom frame them so no two are alike. I love this piece. I actually don't play tennis. I've never even held a racket. And I joke that I'm the only woman in Connecticut that doesn't play tennis. But it's true, but I do think it ties in, especially in Nantucket too. It's a very popular summer sport. And I love, again, a little vintage touch in this very new and modern space. Our dining room is completely covered in shiplap. There's so much shiplap in this house, which I love. I actually find it funny because people sometimes say shiplap is a trend, and maybe in a modern farmhouse style it is, but in coastal, it's so classic. I mean, the homes in town that are hundreds of years old have shiplap, so I just think it's really classic. And this home was 7 years old when we purchased it, and I love an old home. My husband does not share the same, I think, appreciation for charm and character of older homes. So I actually loved it that this home had so much shiplap, and it felt like a little bit of a nod to the more historic homes. But it has these great vaulted ceilings, and it makes the space feel really open. We added our Rockport chandelier, which is wrapped in rope with the nautical knot in the middle, and then some beautiful custom shades to add a little bit of color. And these custom sconces actually pair with our kitchen pendants, which I'll show you. But these are made on Cape Cod by a local company, and they're so beautiful and special, and I just love the nautical look to them. I want to show you these chairs because these are one of the few things in the house that I don't sell that's also not custom. And I think it's a wonderful example of you don't always have to spend a lot to get a great look. These are IKEA chairs, and I wanted something that could handle a little bit of wear and tear, and I needed 8 of them. So I bought these $99 IKEA chairs, and I had them sprayed in Benjamin Moore denim wash. And then I just had a durable seat cushion, but not expensive fabric, put on them. And it totally changed the look of the chair. And I think we get more questions about these chairs than anything else, which cracks me up because they're quite inexpensive. And I appreciate that they're not too precious, because if in a few years they get trashed and it's time for something new, I won't feel heartbroken. But they actually turned out even better than I expected. And these chairs at the end are actually vintage chairs that I'm still waiting on the cushion for, but they were black, and I found a pair of them and we had them painted white. So I think that's fun when you can take a piece and actually paint it, and it really can completely transform the look of it. On our table, we have these beautiful shell hurricanes that I love to move from the inside to the outside when we're dining. And I think candlelight is so romantic, and I love shells. I have them all over the home. I just think they're so elegant. And again, the opportunity to go a little wild with shells here was really fun, because back in Connecticut, sometimes it just feels very out of place. Another very special piece of art, and I love that I can go through this home and share so many incredible artists with you, because I'm all about supporting other artists and small businesses. This is a dear friend of mine, Michelle Brunner Art, and she has been creating art for Cailíní Coastal for years. And I had commissioned this, is sort of her signature look, hydrangeas and sailboats, a special piece for our home, and it is so perfect in this space. If you're familiar with Nantucket, you might recognize this. This is actually Brant Point Lighthouse. So it's not a literal scene of Brant Point Lighthouse, but she essentially took the lighthouse and placed it into one of her beautiful scenes. And I think it's just really special to have one of her pieces in my home and have the tie back to Nantucket. So this home has been so special to me to design, because I absolutely love coastal interiors. I mean, I started an entire business selling pieces for your home that are designed specifically for people who love the coastal aesthetic. And being a true beach house just down the road from the beach, we were able to really lean into that. I live during the year in Connecticut, and while it's by the coast, it can sometimes feel not really the place where I can add a lot of shells without it feeling disconnected. And this home, I felt like I could lean into some of those more literal coastal themes, whether it's shells or the nautical theme. And I think our home is just truly a classic New England coastal home. And now we're gonna go into our laundry room, which I'm sure is a space most people aren't showing on their Homeworthy tours, but this is a pretty fun space, so I did want to show you. We decided to paint this floor, and we did this blue, white, and green runner style floor painting, and we incorporated green throughout the space. We painted the cabinetry, which was all white, and then we added these really fun cafe curtains that have sort of a wave design with the blue, green, and white. And then these are the other two whale baskets that are part of the set, and we use the little one to store our sunscreen, and I just think it's very sweet on the counter. And then Nantucket Bike Baskets is another female-founded business I love to support. We have their baskets on our bike, but I also mounted a couple of them and thought they looked really sweet on the wall, and we use them to store George's toys. So sometimes he comes to the laundry room and he sits right here barking, and our guests are always like, what is wrong with that dog? But it's because his toys are in here and he knows that. And then I have a fun piece of gray malin art on the wall. This is from his Nantucket collection, and it just tied in so well with the colors. I actually had this piece in our home in Connecticut and brought it up because I thought it would be perfect in this space. So the kitchen was a space that we didn't change too much to, but the changes we made a big impact. At some point we might renovate this kitchen, but it wasn't something we wanted to invest in now. So we made a couple of simple changes, and one of the biggest changes was the light fixtures. These beautiful pendants that are made by the same company that made the sconces I showed you are custom pieces and so special. I loved the pop of blue and the bits of brass, and they really do feel so nautical. There were some really modern light fixtures in here before, and truly, as soon as these came in, it immediately transformed the space. So they are one of my favorite parts of the kitchen. We added some color with patterns. So we did a bar stool with a custom cushion with a blue and white stripe that ties to the banquette I'll show you shortly. And then we did some beautiful custom window treatments. These are from Tillet, and they have blue with little pops of green. Again, color in just little spaces really added so much. So they transformed this space, as silly as it sounds because it's so small, but it really did make an impact. And then behind me, we have some shelves where I have some vintage vessels. This is actually a bestseller for us. This is an oyster plate that's made by an artist in the South, and just really fun and interesting. And then above the hood, we have a fantastic piece of art that is sort of this nautical folk art that I just really felt added so much character and personality to the space. Again, we have these huge vaulted ceilings, and this space is not big, but these vaulted ceilings on the first floor really just make it feel so much more open and airy and even bigger than it is. So the kitchen is a good size, but it feels a lot larger than it actually is. Over here, I call this our breakfast and game table. And this was a little bit of an awkward space. When we saw it, there were just two club chairs and a little table in the middle, and they felt very out of place. And we decided to create a little nook where our family of four could sit and have breakfast, or we could play games at night if we didn't want to sit at the dining table. And this beautiful banquette is in this striped fabric is such a perfect piece. I love a banquette. I love a built-in banquette, and this one is not built in, but it gives that same look. It's very sort of inviting and cozy. And then we put in these custom cafe curtains around as well, which was just a fun, different window treatment from a traditional Roman shade. And then these plates on the wall are very special to me. So these are handmade in France for Cailíní Coastal. I partnered with the oldest earthenware artist in France to create these ship plates for us. And they're all handmade. You can eat off of them as well. But I just thought they were so beautiful, styled as decor on the wall, and the 3 different designs. I just love this nook. So I've set up our Scrabble board. I mean, truly, we even sell the Scrabble board. How silly is that? But it's like a coastal color palette and really fun. But we love to play Scrabble at night. We're not always doing it with such beautiful flowers beside it, but it's just a cozy nook and a great place to enjoy a cup of coffee too if I can't be sitting outside, if it's like a rainy day. And now I'm going to bring you to our backyard. George, come on. George is my shadow. He loves to go wherever we go. So the backyard was part of the appeal to the home. We saw it in September of last year, and I'll show you shortly. All of the limelight hydrangeas were fully bloomed and starting to antique, and it is just so magical and special. And we added 2 seating areas. So when we purchased the home, the former owner had one larger dining table here. It felt really crammed, and we wanted to create 2 different dining spaces. One that's a little bit more casual, where we could enjoy family meals and morning coffee. So I wake up very early. I love to sit out here with my laptop and coffee, and George, of course, by my side, and enjoy morning coffees and peaceful, quiet moments. And then we created a more formal dining area down here, and it is a beach house, and I say formal knowing that it really never is that formal, but I did create a more formal setting for you today. I am going to use this opportunity to host a couple girlfriends for lunch, and this is the table setting that I would create that is, you know, still casual. We have no table linens to make it too formal, but some beautiful pieces. We have these beautiful plates that are handmade in France, and they have kind of a basket weave texture to them, which always reminds me of Nantucket and Nantucket baskets. And then the florals were created by a lovely local, Debbie Lilly, who does event design and floral design. So she created these beautiful florals for me. And it is a miracle that the tapers are still standing, because we have typical gusty Nantucket wind today. So we'll pray that they don't crack in half at some point. And then over here is an area where we love to lounge by the pool. I had hoped we would have the umbrellas up for you, because it really creates such an amazing look. Every time our guests come to the house, I love to set these shades lounges. I put the pillows out, I put the umbrellas up. I just like to create a vibe that makes you feel almost like you're walking into a resort. And it's funny, all of our guests notice that. I think sometimes it's those little details that really make a home feel special, and your guests feel like they're really escaping. And we love to share that escape and our retreat with our guests. Okay, so I can't walk any further without talking about this wall of hydrangeas behind me. As I mentioned, the property really sold us on this home, and these limelights did not disappoint. This is just true magic to me. I think hydrangeas like this symbolize Nantucket. I mean, where else in the world can you get this? I call this my wall of hydrangeas, and I appreciate them every single day. And I can't wait till they start antiquing, and it will bring us right through fall and just such tremendous beauty. So now we are going to go to the pool house. One of my favorite things about living at the beach, and I've always loved this since I was a kid, is an outdoor shower. I actually might enjoy it more than my kids. I just think it's such a thrill. And I loved when we saw this house that it had an outdoor shower, and just the little details. The little whale hook here I thought was absolutely darling. And I think after a day in the sun, it's just so wonderful to jump in an outdoor shower and look up and see blue sky and feel the wind in the air. Hokey as it sounds, I love it. So this is a seating area that we created. The former owner actually had a fire pit here, which didn't really work for us. I feel like I've heard from friends they've never really used their fire pits. And I wanted to just create a beautiful seating area. Having the business that I have, I'm always thinking of ways I can photograph the products that we sell and creating just beautiful vignettes. And when you enter the backyard and you see this beautiful, the architecture of the pool house with the pergola, I thought having 2 gorgeous sofas flanked by blue and white planters with some florals would be really just lovely to see and bring the eye down. So as you probably can tell, I have a thing for blue, and this is why I'm not a designer, because it's not particularly unique. And but I love it, and I love to pop some blue in anywhere. So I really loved these beautiful garden stools that are at the end of the sofas, and you can place drinks there. But I just love the way they look when you look out and see this whole vignette. And again, it takes time for things to grow in a garden, but we did plant climbing roses. So after a couple of years, you might have to come back and visit, because the idea is they will start to climb over this trellis. And to me, hydrangeas and roses, climbing roses in particular, are just so quintessential Nantucket. So I look forward to seeing how everything blooms and evolves in the years to come. Okay, now I'm going to bring you into our pool house. So Lynn Morgan, the designer we worked with on this home, pushed me in here a little bit. She said, Meg, you need something other than blue. So we added just subtle pops of yellow in this space, which is very playful and fun. So I love to tell you what these spaces looked like before we moved in. So this was the bachelor's gym, of course, naturally looking out over the pool while like pumping iron. And we have turned this into really a space that you can use as a guest. We have a queen size bed in the loft, and then of course this lounge area. So we've got a little kitchenette and then a full bathroom as well. And we have had guests sleep here, but also we can use this space just on a beautiful day, open the French doors if you want to just step out of the sun and relax and cool down, but still feel like you're a part of this beautiful yard. This is a great place to do that. I am a huge fan of Gray Malin, and I have his art throughout our home, but in the pool house, I wanted to add some fun pieces. So we have pieces from his Nantucket collection. I love this one in, of course, the blue frame. And I loved that in this piece of art, there's that same wood whale hook on their garage that we have on our pool house. And then over here, we have some of his art. It's the Aperol Spritz and the water. And I believe these are Hinckley's, and you can see Great Point Lighthouse in the background. And I just thought these were so fun in a pool house, and obviously an Aperol Spritz on the island is always a good idea. So we're at the front of our house, and I want to show you something that's really special, which might surprise you, but it is this spectacular tree. I'm embarrassed to say I don't actually know what type of tree it is, but I'm going to invite you to come in under this majestic canopy. And when we saw this house, the tree was part of what made the property feel so special. So we've learned from neighbors who've lived here for a while that this tree is in fact very old. And when the land was sold, that this tree was one of the trees on the property that was not allowed to be touched. So from the moment our girls came to the home, they were climbing in the trunk and just seeking shade under the tree. And I thought it would be most fitting to put in some tree swings. So we put in 2 tree swings for each of my daughters, and I come out here sometimes myself and swing under the tree. So I started Cailíní Coastal 5 years ago from my garage. We were living in Manhattan Beach, California at the time. And I have long been a lover of the beach. My family grew up in New York and New Jersey, and we spent time in the Hamptons, and then later years in New Jersey. My family actually bought a home down the shore in New Jersey. And that home to me was such an amazing escape. It was a place of refuge during some difficult times in my life, and a place where I instantly just felt peaceful and joyful. And I always used to say that when we went onto the island in New Jersey, I would leave all my worries behind. And that sentiment has really stayed with me. And through owning Cailíní Coastal, I know so many people share that belief of being by the water is just such a powerful healing thing. And I wanted to offer a destination where people could create that same sense, whether or not they actually lived by the coast in their own home. And even in the dead of winter, if you have a home that exudes that essence of the sea, whether it's via textures or colors, it really has such an impact on your mood. And I saw an opportunity in the marketplace. I was at the time actually working in the PR industry in beauty. And when I went to furnish our first home that we bought in Los Angeles, I was busy working. I had 2 back-to-back babies, and I was shopping online, and I realized that there weren't a lot of places that offered this really curated experience for luxury quality coastal home. And coastal can skew a bit kitschy, and there's less places that really offer this elevated coastal look. And I wanted something that other people didn't have, because it was an industry that was really dominated by just a couple of mainstream brands. And I looked at the beauty industry that was so oversaturated, and I thought, gosh, there has to be something else, because I don't want the same pieces of furniture or the same wallpaper or throw pillows that everyone who likes this aesthetic has in their home. And that was really the catalyst behind Cailíní Coastal. I'm now going to take you into our office. Come on in. This was another space that was just white everywhere. And in this space, we wanted to create a little bit of a moodier vibe. So we went with this really rich blue. This is Downpour Blue by Benjamin Moore. And we painted the cabinetry and then all of the shiplap on the walls. And then we added so many fun nautical maritime accessories in this space. This is another piece of art from the artist I mentioned in our entryway that I also thought was old, and in fact is not, but I just think the art is so well suited for this house. And then the bookshelves have a lot of really fun accessories and objects. There's a few great sources on the island for shopping vintage, and Hospital Thrift Store and the Bonton are 2 of my favorites. And lots of these books are vintage books. I thought this was really fun. The ship in the bottle, some brass accessories as well, like the sailboats and light ship Nantucket baskets, and just a lot of fun little accessories. I love decor. I love accessories. It's one of the things I enjoy sourcing and shopping most for my business. So having a moment like this with a lot of shelf space where I could style and play in a more literal coastal way was really fun. So before we get to the bedroom, I want to stop at our powder bath, which is this teeny tiny bathroom behind a pocket door, but I want to show you the wallpaper and the art. So the wallpaper is our Endless Summer wallpaper. It's actually on a paper weave, so it's a textured ground. And given that Nantucket is the land of hydrangea, as I like to say, I thought this was the perfect wallpaper to have in our powder bathroom. Just so beautiful and symbolic for Nantucket. And then the art hanging on the wall is another custom piece from Latore Studio, who is an artist in South Florida. And she paints these incredible maps. This was her first ever Nantucket map that she painted for us. And it has some of our favorite Nantucket landmarks. And you'll see right here in the center of the art is our home. And that is a really special piece for us. And now we can go into the primary bedroom. So come on in. This is another space that has these high vaulted ceilings, and thankfully the sun has come out for us today so you can actually see what I'm talking about when I say that this is a sun-drenched space. It is so calming. I always talk about the feeling that being by the coast gives me, that sense of peace and joy, and this bedroom really kind of encapsulates that. So we have these soft blue tones and lots of white, and I love a white bed. I think there's nothing better than a beautiful white bed. There's something so inviting about it. It always reminds me of staying at, a beautiful hotel where you just want to dive in. And our bed is actually, I don't know how, because a lot of the pieces are the same, but our bed here is just so comfortable. It's easy to get up in the morning when you wake up on Nantucket, but it is a very wonderful sleeping experience in this little bedroom retreat. We have beautiful pillows by John Rob Shaw, and they add a little bit of pop of color to the otherwise white bed. And then the bed itself was a custom piece we did with Lynn Morgan, a custom upholstered bed. And the window treatments are Schumacher. I also love a stripe. There are some things that just I can't get enough of: stripes, shells, blue, and these window treatments I think are beautiful between the Romans and the coordinating drapes. They just add such a perfect coastal touch. This is another custom piece of art, and this is actually very special to me. So this was based on a photo that was taken here last summer on Nantucket by Zofia Crosby, who often takes always I should say, takes our family photos. And it was a very odd moment. I actually received a call and got some, at the time, terrifying health news in the middle of this family photo shoot. Thank God everything is okay. But I asked Sophia to not have my face in any of the photos because I was trying to hold it together for my kids. And this is one of the photos she took. And a few weeks later, we found out everything was okay. But it was just such a reminder that life is so fragile and things can change in an instant. And what is really most important. Ironically, a few weeks later, we actually came up to Nantucket and bought our home. And I don't think if that incident happened, we actually would have bought our home on Nantucket. And it was a bit of this, enjoy life and create memories together. And so I had this artist in San Diego, Jamie McCarrier, who I've worked with for many years, paint this for me. And it hangs in our room as just a moment and reminder when I wake up every single day to be grateful for my family, for my health, for everything we have. And it's really a very special personal piece in our home. And I want to show you behind the French doors. One of the loveliest things about this room is when you wake up in the morning and pull open the drapes and you just see outside to this beautiful scene. It's pretty magical and special. And I feel like every day I wake up in this space and I have those pinch me feelings like I'm on vacation, and I definitely very much appreciate it. So in addition to having no window treatments in this home, there were very few rugs or carpets, and we decided to install a runner up the stairs, and this beautiful blue, this is our Mia Comet rug, and we did a custom runner. It is indoor-outdoor, so it is highly durable, which was necessary. And it made such a difference in just the look and feel of the staircase. We also painted this banister, which was a very dark brown, a white, and lacquered it. And I didn't love this banister. It was sort of an odd look, and without having to rip the whole thing out, which would have been a much bigger investment, just painting it made such a difference. So small things, again, that really transformed the space. And I was actually very inspired by a nautical gallery wall I saw somewhere. I can't even remember whether it was Instagram or Pinterest or a coffee table book. And I wanted to create this nautical gallery wall going up the staircase. So it's still very much a work in progress. We haven't even lived in this home for a year, but it wraps up and it's so fun. So there are pieces in here like these two that are antiques, and a lot of them aren't antiques, but in going through the process, it also inspired a design idea to design some art that looked old that wasn't, for customers who wanted that look but didn't have the access to great places to source vintage and antiques, or the bandwidth, because it quite honestly takes a lot of time to source. So some of these pieces that I'm showing are actually Cailíní Coastal designs that we framed in these old inspired frames, and we did a coating to these prints to give them texture and more of a worn look to them. So they look old, but they are actually, all of these are new custom pieces that you can order. So we have them mixed in. I wanted to style them so you almost couldn't even tell. And a few more of them over here. And then it just wraps up the staircase. And most of them are ships, but we have some whales and then a few other accessories, or I should say accessory like the oyster plate and our rope mirror and a ship dish. So anything that inspires me that I find I love. This piece is made of shell, actually, by another artist on Nantucket who is so talented. And a lot of these vintage finds are from a company called Found out of Charleston. And the founder of that, Kristen, is fantastic. I never went in person. I just messaged her and told her what I was looking for. And she had so many incredible pieces. So if you're inspired to create this yourself, I highly recommend checking out Found. Okay, so now we're going to go into another one of my favorite spaces, which is the bunk room. Once again, the bunk room was a completely blank canvas. Everything was white. There were no window treatments. There was no wallpaper. It was just, a room with tremendous potential. And so we actually painted this the same blue that we painted our office. So this is Benjamin Moore Downpour Blue, which is a really great, rich nautical blue. And we painted the windows, which I think adds so much, just sort of character to the space. We did some custom window treatments with this really fun pattern border. And then the wallpaper is our Bristol stripe wallpaper. And this is actually inspired by a tiny piece of fabric. It was like a ticking stripe fabric that I found at a flea market in France. And we kind of blew it up and made this really fun coastal stripe. And I just think it looked so perfect in this space. We get asked constantly about the bedding on the beds. The quilt and sheets are John Robshaw, and the pillows are Cailíní. This is our swell pillow, and this is sold out so many times. We launched it this summer, and it's just a really fun, whimsical pillow with the big waves. And then we've got our crab pillow and lobster pillow on each of the beds. I loved the pop of red in here. And then this is some more Cailíní art. These are our modern ship prints, and all four of them are different, but I think it was just a perfect finishing touch for this great nautical bunk space. And then outside of the bunk room is a very cute nautical bathroom. This has our Huntington Wave wallpaper, and this wallpaper actually is, to me, always reminded me of a whale's tail, but it's a really fun kind of abstract design. And then we paired it with our anchorage mirror, which looks like a porthole, and again, just tied, I think, perfectly to the more literal nautical bunk room. This home has 7 bedrooms and 9 bathrooms. So it's a 4,000 square foot, maybe slightly larger home. So I think of it as a true beach house to have that many bedrooms in that square footage, because it's with this idea and assumption that you're hosting a lot of guests and you're probably not spending too much time inside your home. You're spending time at the beach, you're spending time outside in the pool. And so most of the bedrooms are en suite. The bunk room is the only room that is not. I'm going to show you my oldest daughter's room, which is a room I could only have dreamed of having as a child. But it is a pretty special room. This room is, again, huge high ceilings. It feels much bigger and grander than it is. And we did decorative painting on the wall. I can't take credit for some of these things, so I want to give credit where credit is due. And this is designer Lynn Morgan. She said, Meg, let's paint a stripe on the wall. And I thought that is such a fun idea. And we did this blue, white, and then this light green stripe. And I think it turned out so fantastic. Another custom bed we did with this wavy scallop pattern, and it's this pretty kind of aqua green with this blue piping, which is really special. And then another beautiful white bed, because I just think they're so dreamy and effortless. I would say I'm actually probably more of a minimalist. Like, this room is so simple. My eldest daughter has inherited my like type A, very neat. So her room actually looks like this most of the time. She doesn't keep things on her bedside tables. She tucks things away. And I just think sometimes there's such beauty in simplicity, and it doesn't have to be a lot of stuff. So I love that about this space. I have to show you these bedside tables. So we unfortunately don't sell these anymore, but we did. And they are absolutely magnificent for a shell-obsessed person like myself. They are encrusted in natural white shells. And then they have this handle that looks, it's not real coral, but it's probably a resin and a faux coral handle. And they're just magnificent. I always look at this, and as a business owner, I think, how in the world do we ship this? The fact that this came from the Philippines, where they do the most beautiful shell work, and arrived here and moved up to Nantucket is wild. But they're truly works of art. And yes, and I put these beautiful works of art in my daughter's room, which feels very high risk, but she is very neat. And then over here, I want to show you a very simple but fun piece of art that pops, this Nantucket print that I found in town. Just again, where I can put a nod to Nantucket, I like to sneak it in. This is a vintage piece of art that I found. And as I've said, I've incorporated a lot of vintage and antique pieces, mostly through decor and art. And I just thought that this was a very fun piece. And then over my daughter's bed, we actually have a modern day version of this Shell Studies print. And then this is her bathroom. All of the bathrooms were white. We added wallpaper. We changed out the vanity in here and the mirror. They were the sort of built-in mirrors, medicine cabinets. And it's pretty incredible what just changing a mirror, a light fixture, and even if you don't change the vanity, just that alone can really, make a bathroom feel much more updated and give it more of a designer look. Somebody actually just said to me this weekend that Nantucket is a state of mind, and it really stuck with me. I go always back to this feeling. I think that being by the coast has been, since I was young, such a powerful thing for me because of how it makes me feel. And Nantucket completely has that impact on me. It's so beautiful. I mean, Nantucket obviously is a destination for people all around the world, and it's that for a reason. I think it's incredibly charming and unique, and with tremendous rich history, the cobblestone streets, the abundant fluffy hydrangea hedges, the most pristine beaches. It's really magnificent. The landscape is just truly magnificent. I think what else I love about Nantucket that was a bit of a magical surprise once we bought the home here is the community. The year-rounders and the people who spend their summers here are some of the kindest, warmest people I've met. And we have felt such an embrace since we bought our home here in November, from neighbors, from people I've been connected to. And it's really incredible. I think beyond just the superficiality of it's a beautiful place that people love to see, the restaurants are great, the shopping is great. I've been sort of most inspired by the people. There are so many incredible people. There are so many artisans and just good people on the island. And I think what lured us was really the beauty. And I think what's going to make this a home that we have for many, many decades to come is the incredible community. Home to me is the most important thing. It is definitely the people. The last couple of days I've actually been here with some dear girlfriends who visited. My husband and kids have been elsewhere, and last night I spent my time alone with George, my doodle. And as much as I love this home, it didn't feel the same with them. So I think it's about the people, but that those memories you create. I love being home. I am such a homebody. There's nowhere I'd rather be at the end of the day than in our home with our family and with friends, and having a home that is a beautiful one that makes you feel good and calm and joyful is an extra special one. Thank you so much for visiting Homeworthy. We had so much fun. I've got to go pick up my kids, but we'll see you later.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.